let's quickly go across and see how the US markets fared on Friday. Well, on Friday, Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 0.8%. The S&P 500 rose 1.2%. The S&P 500 had a positive end to the first half of the year, gaining 6.5% for its best monthly performance since the month of October. It rose 8.3% for third straight quarter of gains and its biggest quarterly advance since the fourth quarter of 2021. Now let's look at the NASDAQ index. NASDAQ index has been inching up on the back of strong gains coming from the tech majors. NASDAQ was up 1.4%, had its best start in 4 decades. Those gains, of course, as I mentioned, came in as enthusiasm around artificial intelligence boosted the tech stocks. Recent data also showed a rather resilient US economy despite higher rates, also lifted the consumer sentiments and easing some of the fears on Wall Street of a long-awaited downturn. The stocks kicked off a shortened trading week today with the market closing at 1 p.m. ET for the Independence Day holiday. So it will be a shorter day of trading in the US markets as of today. Now, investors will pore over the latest ISM manufacturing PMI and S&P Global manufacturing PMI data for the month of June on as of today's trading session ahead of Friday's keynote jobs report. Now let's go across to the European market. The European stock markets closed higher on Friday and notched strong first half gains in a resurgence that came despite interest rate hikes and banking failures. The Pan-European Stock 600 closed 1.2% higher for the session, with all the sectors and major bourses in the positive territory. Now, over the first half of the year, the index ended up roughly 8.8% higher. DAX was up 1.2%, the FTSE was up 0.8%, and CSE was up 1% in the trading session. Now, it comes as the Eurozone inflation data fell more than expected for the month of June. The figure came in at 5.5% for the month of June, indicated that fiscal tightening of the European Central Bank could be starting to have desired effect. And the core inflation, which excludes food, energy, rose, however, coming in at a good 5.4%, I beg your pardon. Now let's look at how the crude fared, Lisa. That was a roundup of the global markets, a positive handover coming in from the Europe and the US markets, but where is the crude at?
Well, if you're looking at the WTI crude oil, that's at around $70.49 per barrel, and the Brent crude oil is at around $75.25 per barrel. But if we look at the quarterly gains, it has been at a fourth straight quarterly decline, and investors are quite worried about the sluggish global economic activity, and that could crimp the fuel demand going forward. Also, the prices have been under pressure, and that is because of the rising interest rates and also the slower than expected recovery in the Chinese economy. But that has been offset by the strengthening US economic activity and also sharp declines in the US inventory. So that's about the crude data for today.